The Visored show up, then nothing happens. Then we find out what happened last chapter, then nothing happens. Then Yumachika and Ikaku go to the Rukon district to investigate missing people, and then nothing happens. I mean, unless you count a strange, mysterious man of unknown origins appearing spontaneously on Ichigo's bed, then I guess that would be considered something. Okay, that happens. Right, please excuse this review in advance because I have a really bad cold right now. Honestly, I was considering whether I should even do this, but it was a decent chapter, so I thought I should talk about it. But yeah, so if I get a little nasally at times, sorry for that. So yeah, apologies for that in advance. Also, I got a lot of messages. It's just amazing. It's actually kind of a running gag now. From the first chapter, I didn't mention anything about Quincies. I mean, I did, but I didn't. And then the next chapter, I was so worried about missing something that I once again, I missed the painfully obvious that Ivan had a mask on the right side of his face, and I didn't even mention the fact that he could be in a Rancor. I mean, I honestly, even after I realized, like, oh crap, he had a mask on, I didn't really consider he was in a Rancor because I mean, they were the main villains last arc. I doubt, well, not last arc, but they were the main villains for a really long stretch of time, like several years. So I figured, you know, Kubo wasn't going to bring them back again to be enemies anyway. So I just think he was in a Rancor, and this chapter proved me right there. But yeah, so just an odd running gag. Like something in this chapter probably happened that was painfully obvious to everyone except for me. So let's just find out. Intro. Start off right where we left off last chapter with Ivan standing on Ichigo's bed, and in the last chapter I mentioned that Ivan might be Russian because of his clothing and attire, but now I'm sure of it, because he's wearing shoes. And if you know anything about Japanese culture, you know it's one thing to break into someone's house and stand on their bed, but you better take your shoes off first, mister. So yeah, he's totally Russian. So Ivan asks Ichigo again, could you repeat that? I didn't hear it very well. Aha! Shonen cliche number 31. People can't hear you even though you're right in the same freaking room together. And I would say this is a cliche in other works, but mostly in shonen, mostly because how this usually works is the chapter ends with the character saying something, and this happened in this instance, but it happens in other instances too. When the chapter ends with the character saying something, and like the next week, the other character's like, could you repeat that? I didn't hear you. Or they just start off the chapter with them repeating it themselves. It does happen in other works. I have seen this before, and it just kind of ticks me off when you're standing in the same room, literally 2 feet away from each other. But anyway, Ichigo repeats himself. I don't know who you are, but get off that bed. That's what I said. And Ivan very politely just announces, I refuse. And of course, using the logic of any badass shonen character, Ichigo proceeds to crane kick him right in his freaking throat. After I saw that, I just sat there scratching my head like, why did he even go in the room to begin with? I mean, really, he shows up, says, my name's Ivan. Oh, okay, well, can you get off the bed? No! Was that the whole reason he showed up there? I mean, like, he showed up like a really foreboding character. Like, this is the guy that's going to give us plot exposition. He's going to, you know, tell us all the stuff that's going on for the arc. And instead, he just comes off as confusing, really. So yeah, Ivan flies out through the window, and all of his friends are kind of nonchalantly surprised by the whole ordeal. Yeah, Uryu mentions the obvious that he might be in a Rancor because he had a part of his mask on his right side of the face. Ichigo says he doesn't really care. He just wants to go and make sure he doesn't come back in his house. So he turns into a Soul Reaper, heads out the window. And Uryu and Chad just calmly say, okay, we'll come after you after we finish eating this bread. Yeah, like I said, completely desensitized to the whole situation. I mean, they've been with Ichigo so long, and they know how much of a badass he is, and he basically wins every fight he's in. They could basically, like, look out their window and be like, oh, crap, there's 1,000 hollows out there, and 100 Rancors, and 1,000,000 bounce all ready to kill us all, and oh, wait, well, Ichigo's here. Okay, he's gonna go take care of that for him. We're just gonna sit here and enjoy our snacks while we can watch the show. Yeah, then Ichigo heads out, and then we get the title page, which confirms that Yuki and Shino are still there, and they're their normal wimpy selves. You know, I wasn't really expecting my idea to come true that Yuki and Shino were going to be like Ivan combined, but... just the idea that these two are probably going to be main characters now, not really filling me with confidence. Bad recognition. No one knows that the end is coming. Yes, we do. The title said it in the last two chapters. Whatever. Ivan's just sitting there all banged up, and he's like, "Oh, why did he kick me all of a sudden?" Because you refuse to get off his bed. It's his bed, man. Really? Have you no shame? So Ichigo shows up, asks him if he has any business with him, to which Ivan, even more in a confused way, says, "Business with you? Don't be so arrogant." Yes, it's completely arrogant for Ichigo to think that the guy that broke into his house and stood on his bed has any business with him. Completely arrogant. Ivan instead replies, "Aren't you at all curious as to who I am?" No, not really. So Ivan starts chasing after him in a comical manner, and that's the part that I'm trying to understand. He's supposed to be like, he showed up as like a dark, foreboding character with, you know, he's going to be stern and logical, just like Aizen, and now he's like a comic relief character. So I don't know what he's supposed to be. So, Ryu suggested, he said, "You seem like a hollow since you have that mask on your face." And he even asks him if you're here to avenge Aizen, which I'm sure a bunch of fanboys immediately went to like, "Oh, Aizen's coming back! Aizen's coming back!" No, he's not. And like I said earlier, I think Aizen will show up again in the series. Other than that, because Kubo could have just killed him off if he didn't want to show him up again. But Aizen might show up like, I would say, halfway between this arc. I mean, he's going to show up again, but not this early. Ivan then confirms that he is actually not in a wrong car and proceeds to pull Quincy Pentacle out of his sleeve, and then proceeds to summon, oh my god, the most amazing bow I've ever seen ever. Oh yeah, we're talking shonen cliche number 4 here. Oversized and awkward weapons that could never exist in real life, but in anime and manga, they are so freaking awesome. So yeah, he pulls a bow out that is literally twice his own size with huge spikes shooting out of it, and Ichigo just stands there dumbfounded, and then, yeah, that confirms that he's a Quincy right there. We don't get to see the rest of this fight, but since Ichigo is, you know, Ichigo, even though that bow is awesome, I do not think that Ichigo is going to have any problem taking Ivan out. But anyway, we cut over to the Rukongai District 64 East Sabatusura, or something. I can't pronounce that well because I'm not Japanese. But anyway, we cut over to there, and we finally get to see Yumachika's new outfit, which is every bit as pretty boyish as you would imagine. He has like furls coming out of his hair now, and one of his hair is tied in a what is that, like a ponytail, like a twist instead? I don't know. Yeah, so they arrive in the Rukongai to investigate the people disappearing, and a few members from Squad 11 show up and said they searched, but they couldn't find anybody, and another one shows up and says, "I found something interesting," and it turns out it's a bunch of footprints. Some of them are sandals, some of them are barefoot, which is usually what the people in Rukongai wear, so it confirms that the whatever did this to make them disappear, drawed them into one location and then like made them all disappear in one go. So obviously this is not the work of a hollow, and honestly they don't know what it is, so they're just going to stand there and investigate. So then we cut over to the 1st Division barracks where a unseen man, actually we never see who's giving these orders, but someone's giving orders to Yamamoto from all the different divisions. When he's in the middle of giving these orders, he collapses, and Yamamoto turns around to see 7 figures in Quincy clothing and black masks, and they state that they're waging war on Captain Yamamoto, which basically means they're waging war on the Soul Society as a whole. But the thing I found funny is, because all these guys are wearing like, you know, featureless black masks that cover their faces, I could so easily put something in there. And so I'm going to be a 5-year-old and do that. Allow me to introduce you to Mysterious Smiley Quincy, Mysterious Angry Quincy, Mysterious Maniacal Quincy, and of course, because this is YouTube, Mysterious Troll Quincy. Oh, I'm a child. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter, and really not much to say in this one. We didn't find out what was up with that dimensional rift from last chapter that Hiyori saw, but from what we've seen, the Quincies, I mean, those are obviously Quincies now. That's pretty much been confirmed, the main enemy. That was the point of this chapter, to finally confirm that, yes, they're Quincies. And I would assume the other ones that appeared are Quincies too. The attire was very similar. So yeah, they're definitely Quincies. I don't know what Ivan's intentions are, because he showed up with to Ichigo while all of his friends were in the Soul Society. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe his job is to distract Ichigo, I'm guessing. I was going to say that his job was, like, he was just going to meet with Uryu, because Uryu's a Quincy too. And they obviously know stuff about Ichigo's gang, so I'm pretty sure Ivan knows that Uryu's a Quincy. And I think that's what Ivan's job is, though. It's going to be to delay Ichigo while his gang of friends does whatever in the Soul Society with Yamamoto. Honestly, I don't know really where they're going to go with this. I always had the assumption that Quincies were weaker than Shinigami. That's what I always assumed from what we've seen so far. But then again, all we've had to go on is his dad and Uryu himself. But we've never seen Ryukin fight a Shinigami directly. So I don't know. But next chapter, maybe we'll find out what that's going on about. The fight against Ivan and Ichigo. Maybe the mysterious Quincies will announce their demands to Yamamoto. But yeah. So yeah. And Tekking101 signing out.